Do not look inside.
The town of Blackwood sat on the edge of a vast forest in northern Canada. For generations, the woods had been surrounded by strange stories. Locals claimed people sometimes heard whispers among the trees at night. Others spoke of mysterious lights moving between the branches. Most people dismissed the stories as nothing more than old legends. 16-year-old Rosemary certainly did. She was an ordinary high school student whose biggest concerns were passing exams and spending time with her best friend, Amanda. One Monday morning, their biology teacher surprised the class with an announcement. "Next Friday," he said, "we'll be taking a field trip to study wildlife and plant life in the forest reserve outside town." The classroom immediately filled with excitement. A day away from school sounded perfect. When Friday finally arrived, a school bus carried the students deep into the countryside. The forest reserve stretched for miles in every direction. Towering pine trees blocked much of the sunlight, casting long shadows across the winding trails. The air smelled fresh and cool. At first, the trip was exactly what everyone expected. Students laughed, took photos, and explored the trails while their teacher explained different plants and ecosystems. Rosemary and Amanda walked together near the back of the group. The two friends were so busy talking that they barely paid attention to where they were going. Minutes turned into nearly half an hour. Then Amanda suddenly stopped walking. "Rosemary, what? Where is everyone?" Rosemary looked around. Her stomach dropped. The trail was empty. The rest of the class had vanished. Only silence surrounded them. At first, they assumed they had simply fallen behind. The girls continued walking, expecting to see their classmates around the next corner. But the deeper they went, the stranger the forest felt. The trail became narrower. The trees seemed taller. Even the sounds of birds had disappeared. A growing sense of unease settled over them. "We should turn back," Amanda said nervously. Rosemary nodded. But when they tried retracing their steps, nothing looked familiar. Every path appeared the same. Every direction led to more forest. Soon panic began creeping into their minds. Then, through the trees, they saw something unexpected. A cottage. It stood alone in a clearing. The building looked ancient. Dark ivy covered its walls. Several windows were cracked. The roof sagged under years of neglect. The entire place looked abandoned. Yet thin smoke drifted from the chimney. Someone was living there. Relieved, the girls hurried toward it. Rosemary knocked on the front door. For several seconds, nothing happened. Then the door slowly creaked open. An elderly woman stood before them. She was extremely thin. Her pale face was lined with wrinkles. Long gray hair hung over her shoulders. The old woman stared at them without speaking. "We got separated from our class," Rosemary explained. "Can we use your phone?" The woman remained silent for a moment. Then she slowly nodded. "Come inside." The girls exchanged glances before stepping into the cottage. The moment they entered, an uncomfortable chill ran through their bodies. The air felt unusually cold. Dust covered the furniture. The wooden floor creaked beneath every step. A fireplace stood against one wall, blackened with soot. Despite the smoke outside, there was no fire burning. The old woman led them into a small living room. Then she turned toward the kitchen. "I'll make tea," she said quietly. The girls thanked her. Just before leaving the room, the old woman stopped. Without turning around, she spoke again. "Whatever happens," her voice suddenly sounded much colder, "do not look into the mirror." The girls frowned. Then the woman disappeared into the kitchen. Silence filled the room. Amanda looked toward the corner. There stood a large antique mirror. Its wooden frame was dark and cracked with age. The glass itself appeared unusually clear. For a few moments, neither girl moved. Then curiosity got the better of them. Amanda stepped closer. Rosemary followed. At first, everything seemed normal. They saw their reflections staring back. The room behind them looked exactly the same. Then Amanda frowned. "Do I look pale to you?" Rosemary stared at the reflection. Amanda was right. Something looked different. Their skin appeared much lighter in the mirror than in reality. A strange feeling settled in Rosemary's stomach. Then she noticed something else. A thin scratch appeared on Amanda's cheek. Amanda reached up and touched her face. Nothing was there, but in the reflection, the scratch remained. Another scratch appeared, then another. The girls froze. Neither spoke. They simply stared. More marks slowly spread across Amanda's reflection. Bruises formed beneath her eyes. Cuts opened across her skin. Rosemary looked at her own reflection and gasped. The same thing was happening to her. Dark bruises covered her face. Blood trickled from wounds that didn't exist. The reflections continued changing. The injuries became worse, deeper, more violent. The girls couldn't look away. It felt as though the mirror was pulling them closer. Then Amanda screamed. Rosemary followed her gaze. What she saw nearly stopped her heart. A long knife protruded from Amanda's eye in the reflection. Blood streamed down her face. Rosemary looked at herself. Her reflected face appeared crushed and broken beyond recognition. The girls staggered backward. Their screams echoed through the cottage. At that moment, the old woman rushed into the room. Her eyes widened with anger. "I warned you," she shouted. "I told you not to look." The mirror's surface suddenly rippled like water. For a brief second, shadowy figures seemed to move beneath the glass. That was enough. Rosemary grabbed Amanda's arm. The two girls ran. They sprinted through the front door and into the forest. Branches whipped against their faces. Roots nearly tripped them. Neither dared look back. All they knew was that they needed to get away from that cottage. After what felt like forever, they burst from the trees into an open field. In the distance stood their school bus. The rest of the class was waiting. Their teacher looked furious. "Where have you two been?" he shouted. "We've been looking for you for over an hour." Neither girl answered. They climbed onto the bus and sat quietly for the entire journey home. Over the following days, they tried convincing themselves that the experience had been nothing more than stress and fear. Eventually, life returned to normal. School continued. Homework piled up. The terrifying cottage slowly became a distant memory. Then, exactly 1 week later, everything changed. Rosemary never came to school. Neither did Amanda. Concerned family members entered their bedrooms that morning. What they discovered shocked the entire town. Both girls were dead. Their bed sheets were stained with blood. Their bodies were covered in scratches, bruises, and deep wounds. The injuries matched exactly what they had seen in the mirror. Police launched a full investigation. They searched both homes. They questioned friends, family members, and neighbors. But nothing explained what had happened. There were no signs of forced entry, no fingerprints, no weapon, no evidence that anyone had entered the houses. The case quickly became one of the town's greatest mysteries. Months later, search teams entered the forest, hoping to locate the cottage described by the girls. They searched every trail, every clearing, every section of woodland. They found nothing. No cottage, no old woman, no trace that either had ever existed. It was as if the place had vanished, or perhaps it had never been there at all. Years later, locals still tell the story. Some dismiss it as an urban legend. Others believe something far darker hides within those woods. And even today, One warning continues to be passed from generation to generation. If you ever become lost in the forest and find a lonely cottage hidden among the trees, and if an old woman tells you not to look into the mirror, keep your eyes closed, because some reflections don't show who you are. They show how you're going to die.